we're using the original casting for the front rubber mounts, which makes sense. Yeah, cunt to make. And Daz wants rubber mounts, so there you fucking go. Now I've cleaned it off, and look at the nubs that they leave on the casting for the tube to sit in and strengthen. Now, got me old fashioned, but fuck me, they don't give much, do they? So I made some new ones. My new tube fits over. Can't really demonstrate it with one hand, but I've just tacked it. It sits over this knob. It's recessed. It's drilled through, but still enough fucking material to do a couple of plugs and a proper fucking weld around there. So there you go. We'll look at these when we're actually doing the frame, because I'm not sure of the angle of the dangle. We might need to grind that right off and fucking drill it out and all sorts of shit to get the tubes to go where we want. So not committing to that just yet. So work harder, not smarter, Ralfy. Sorry, that's not right. We've got the motor. What I'm gonna do, right? I'm still trying to work out the best way for the rear axle action. There we go. But the motor's on the bench. I think we are either gonna purpose design, do some bespoke, well they're all bespoke, but gonna sort out some way of fucking making the axle plates. They don't need a lot of movement because the belt, I'm keeping the belt. So we'll get this on. We'll get the headstock on. We'll get the rear axle pivot places set up, like, you know. And then we can look at the angle of the dangle and we can work out what we're going to do with the axle plates. I'm kind of putting it off, but I'm hoping that it comes to me like a revelation. The problem I've got, why I'm fucking about so much, is the standard spindle has these flats on it that these cam adjusters, these snails, sit on a little plate. They butt against a bit on the fucking swing arm where, at the end of the slot, and when you turn this nut, it turns that and it backs it off so that it tightens your belt up. It's quite a bulky chunk of shit, and it needs a stop to work against and a big socket to put on it, and so on and so forth. So it don't really fit my brief. The stuff I've got's not quite there, like, so I think we're going to go with a traditional axle plate, which is good, but I need to work out this to keep this flat, the slot. I need to work out the horizontal position once we get this angle from the top tube down with the seat rail. So I'm going to mock it up, find that angle, go with something like that, only for 1.25 inches, so it'll be cut out more, and it's shorter as well, because you only need a 40mm length of slot. Yeah? So that's what I'm fucking about. Anyway, engine's on, way big chunk of shit there, look, fucking. And we'll get the headstock in place, and we'll get the rear axle pivots in place, spindle holes where they need to be, and then we'll work out the angle of the dangle using the tried and tested fucking straight edge or a bit of string method. Oh wow, it's later on the same day. That's actually sat where it's going to be. Look, I'm trying to get it in shot, but it ain't showing great. Headstock's where it needs to be, with 6-inch over forks. Going to give us just over 5.5 inches of ground clearance at the front, and just over 4.5, nearly 5 inches at the back, which is spot on for me for a rigid. My shovel head is 4 inches or 4.5 inches, and it's fucking low. So the old fucking trumpet, God bless it, it's 6 inches, but it's going to have an exhaust underneath there, so this ain't, so we're going with that. Rubber mounts are in place. Fucking, what a fucking game. I don't fucking know. There you go. You thought, yeah, I just spoke to our Daz about it. Yeah, he knows, what a cunting fucking job. Anyway, what's next I'm really excited about is the fucking axle doodahs. We're not going for these. I've managed to fucking not talk him out of it, but he's open to suggestions, he knows that I know. So we're not doing these because I don't do them. They're for me. you know, you need a little bit of it to yourself, don't you? So we're back on. We're going to change the rear spindle. We're going to make some slotted plates out of this fuck off thick plate, and we're going to encompass it with tube. So we're going to have a little oval tube with a slot in and a little thread for the adjuster, and so on and so forth. I'm really looking forward to making them. So let's go. So we need 2 bits of this thick wall tube, 1 3/4 long. Coincidentally, not by accident, it's the same size as I use for the centre of the headstock. Because we like things to follow, don't we? We like things to tie in. So that's the first ingredient. 2 bits of that thick fuck off flat black plate, 80mm long. And we weld the 2 plates together. Oh, fucking wait, drop them on the floor. Try and do it one-handed. Thusly. And if I can get this clamp off with one hand. Fucking Jesus, Father Ted. Right, what we're going to do is we're going to put the slot in for the axle. We're going to split these tubes in half, the 2 bits of tube, after we've faced them up. And they're going to go off each end with a bit in the middle to join the gap once it's split. And then we're going to make a top plate to cover it over with a couple of threaded fasteners and so on and so forth. I really like these. I really do like these. They're very effective. Well, it's going to look fucking great with these because it's so short, with only needing a little slocks of the belt. So I'll get them marked out. We need to cut 25mm slot, 40mm from end to end and down the middle. So yeah, I know I've not got a 25mm cutter. I've got a fucking inch cutter though, haven't I? Which will give us a bit of clearance. Yeah, I've got the old inch. So maybe drill it out first. 25, don't know. Let's see. I'll get marked out and set up, and we'll go from there. Okay, so we've die chemmed that. It's not very clear, and that don't help you see it, does it? But I've marked out the slot. I've marked out the centre of the 2 holes that are going to form the ends, if you like. So I'm going to zero in on it using my pointer, using my tungsten pointer. So I can set the y-axis to the centre line. I can just check that as we go through, so that's all good. And we can lock off the x-axis. Excuse me, I'm just going to blind it when I do that. There. So what I figure is I'm going to drill 22mm and then I'm going to go in with a roughing end mill and go from there. So I'll get that started, turn it off so you can see again and get that started. Bear with. So we've got a pilot drill in there. Little 4mm or 4.5mm. I've just sharpened it, so it should be good. The biggest problem I'm having at the minute is my cutting oil is so fucking thick because it's so cold in here. It's like fucking kind of like treacle on the job. Let's see how we go there. Work our way through with that. Go. I'm going to swap that out to 13, I think I've got. ½ inch. Swap that out to ½ inch and then go again. Right, now we switched over to ½ inch, slow things down a bit. We're still battling this slow. Look, it's fucking so thick. Because it's so cold in here. Yeah, he's still in short, so we'll go out to 13. nice and steady. And then I'm going to move along to the second hole and repeat the process. That's warm enough to take some, to soften my lube. Nobody wants stiff lube, do we? So, put that one through. I will, I'll move along now to the second hole and repeat the process. So in with the pilot and through with the 12. Right, so we'll switch that to roughing end mill. We're going to open those holes out to 18mm. We're on 25, don't we? So this is good for it. Nice and steady. And going now, we can move the bed along once I've unlocked it and do another plunge nearer to the end. Yeah. So there, it's really close to where we need to be, so we'll lock the bed off at that and go in with another plunge. And then we'll move away down, repeating that as we go until we've got a series of plunge cuts. So this is the last of the plunge. Turn that light off. I needed that on to see my marking out my guideline on the far end of the job. So we'll plunge that all the way through. And then, because I don't have 25mm milling cutter, end mill, I'm going to use this mill. The tool I've got in now, I'm going to use the tool I've got in now to bring me to my 25mm width. I think that's about the best way I've got of doing it. I've got an inch. I've got an inch tool that works really fucking well, but it's a little bit oversized at 25.4. Let me just double check. I'm sure the 1 inch, 25.4, yeah, 25.39, 25.4. So I'll double check on the spindle, and if it's 25 on the money, then 25.4 is going to be all right actually. Maybe use this tool. If not, I'll use this tool and I'll bring it to my marking outlines. And down to the end there, obviously, and check. What I think I need to do is go and have a measure, so I'll be back. Okay, so we've measured and the spindle is 25 on the nose, so 25.44 is too big, I think. Basically, I'm going to use this cutter to get me nearly there. So I'm relying on my marking outlines, and I'm just going to take a little cut towards me. Back that off. Take a little cut towards the other side. Excuse me with the bright light. You don't want to be climb cutting. You're going to jump about and be shaking like a shitting dog. So get it nearly there on that back line. See it caught then. Steady. We'll work our way along. You can't see very well because I'm in the bright light on. We'll work our way along there and we'll do the same with the front until we get really close to our marking out line. We're about there on the back. There we go. Now change to a regular one and we'll clean it up to size. Right, so it's a few hours later for me because I have some running around to do. So. But what I've done, I've changed it out to a 4-flute end mill. I'm hoping it's in as good a condition as it first appears, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to just move slightly, and I'm going to clean up the hole. So I'm going to run it through so it's all the way. This is there, and lock off my knee. There we go. Check my speed, 578 is what I've got. Run it up, and I'm going to take that to the line. So I've had a measure, I'm on 22. So we need to. I've cleaned off. The problem is I'm trying to film it, and the light that I need to see what I'm doing is not good for filming. So basically I'm compromising, and I shouldn't. I should just get on, which is what I'm going to do. I need 3 mil, which is 1 mil each side, 1.5 mil each side. So I wind that until I'm through, which is there. And I'll wind this across until I touch, get in the middle there, look, so I'm not on a radius, until I touch off, which is there, and I'll zero my dial, which it already is, and I'll just come back and clean up. Yeah, so we're all running parallel, everything's good, get to there. And now I'm going to go in, take your cut, half a mil, work my way along. See, it's shaking. The rigidity of this machine is not the best, but it's alright. Touch up on the end, come back. There you go, you just got a second there. Go another half a mil. There. And work along. To the end. And finally, another 0.5 of a mil. Now another 20 down. Take a nice chance to cut. And then we'll work across, come to the middle up. Work across to the other side and do the same. And there we go, gone to handheld. That is coming in at 24.9 and a bit, which is new as fuck it is to swear in. Good enough for me, that'll fit that wheel. So that's the slot cut. I'll give that a quick clean up and then we'll move on to the next bit. Right, just face that off. Spin it around. And put the shit off my fucking. The winter time is not a happy time in the machine shop. You get a little bit of light surface rust on the vise. Sorry, on the chuck. I don't seem to get it on the tooling. Don't know what that's all about. There you go. Anyway, we'll machine this to length. 32 millimeters. Despite what I might have said earlier, so We'll go in really about there. That'll true it up and get it where we need it. There we go. We'll break that edge. And now we need to chamfer. We need a weld prep on this. So, switch tool in. Bear with. And in we go with a good chamfer. There we go. What we also need to do is give ourselves a halfway mark for cutting it, because we need to split it. So what I'm going to do is put the tool I've just had back in. I'm going to turn this around so I've got a full face. Good enough. And all I'm going to do, I'm going to make a clear space this side to the tool. So anywhere there will do. And we're going to go in and we're going to use the tool to mark a line. Yeah, like that. There we go, give myself an index. And I'll just touch on, you can't see this, but I'll touch on and wind along. Touch on, wind along. Give myself a little scribed mark. Maybe not touch on that far, eh? We know that is dead centre of that bit of tube. Okay, so now we've got a slot cut in our plates. We've got our caps cut, machined for a weld. They're going to sit like that, but where I've marked the centres, they're going to be split, pulled apart, and we'll put an infill in with a bit of flat plate. So what we need to do is get a better scribe than the one I've got in my hand, and not easy on the camera, but mark round, yeah, there, and same this end. So just fill it in, get it on the end, and mark those edges. What we'll do then is get a grinder, cut these off, get them to shape. These are going to be the end caps. They're going to sit on top and shaped the same. So we need to do the same with those. We need to do the line it up trick like that. Give it a scribe with a better scriber like that. Both ends. Yeah. And again, we'll just cut that with a cut-off saw. We'll cut that with the trusty cut-off saw and then clean it up on the band sander. And I'll join you when I've done that. So after a shed load of grinding and trimming and sanding, we've got 2 inners and 2 outers. What I'm going to do now is split the pipes and get them welded in place, basically. I've given myself a bit of a weld prep, you saw on the lathe, so we can clean them up afterwards. And Bob's your jolly old. So we'll get those split, get a magnet on the bench, get them tacked together, and then we'll cut some middle bits and make them whole. Gently does it. And so much fucking about and measuring and putting a little square across the gap to make sure we're true. We've got 2 of the ends prepped. Look, give them a good weld prep on this top. Put a chamfer there. They're ready to take a weld. So We kept them in pairs as well once we split them to make sure there wasn't a discrepancy. But we'll get them tacked in place, and then we'll cut some middles to bridge together. Okay, even more work on the bandsaw, trimming up this plate to make the infills to fill in those gaps. And then we can weld them up and dress them back, and they'll be ready to fit in the jig, like so. And there's one held in position, ready to be tacked in. Put a straight edge across the three surfaces, make sure it's all level. The magnet does the outside. Tack, tack, weld, weld, clean, clean. Right, next up, focus. Next up is, come on, focus on that. There you go. We need to put an M6 threaded hole, 14mm from this face, which is 10mm plus 4mm. So it'll be 4mm in the inside. And that's going to be for the wheel adjuster. So we're going to put a bolt in there, an M6 bolt that will go on a bush or spacer that sits on the end of the spindle. And Bob's your jolly old. So we need to mark those, both of those. I had to get a bit creative when it came to marking the centre, and because they're 50mm or 2-inch, I used a bit of inch tube and scribed across the top of it, like a as if you would with a proper marking out kit, like that, you know. It's not crucial enough to need that, so we'll get that drilled and tapped, M6. Right, the very last job is to get these end covers fitted. So what I've done, I've used a bit of pipe on the end there and traced around the inside, scribed around the inside, both ends, joined it up. So we've got a profile of this part, look. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to weld a little fix in, and we're going to do another threaded hole next to this one. Sorry, another hole, not a threaded hole, a hole next to this one that's going to attach to that. So we'll get on with that. Right, so what I then do is weld 2 pieces of tube, half pieces of tube that are going to sit inside of the axle plate, if you like, we'll call it. And then I can mark and drill for an M4 grub screw, and we'll drill we drill through both pieces, clamp it together, drill through both, but we only thread the outside one. Happy days. And the hole on the inside gives us something for the grub screw to bite into, which is why we clamp it hard in the vise. So that's how it's going to sit when it's all together. Here they are finished. Look, given the final shape. You can see the M4 grub screw in there. I've left this one in 2 bits. What I've decided to do was not drill all the way through, so I'll give it a bit of a detent, and then I'll sit on there, do the grub screws up. Robert's your brother's fucking mother's brother, fucking, there you go. And they sit like that on the frame. These are handed, these caps. I've just drilled them to suit, so if when Dad does his building it up, he finds one's a bit fucking wonky donkey, then he needs to flip it around or switch sides with it, you know. I might stamp inside, right and left, innit, on the wrong side, just to fuck his head up. There you go. So, that's the headstock made, that's the rubber mount salvaged, and that is the rear axle plate. So I'm going to think a name up for these. Suggestions in the comments below, please. I'm thinking of calling them pillbox, snuff box. I know they're big. They're bigger than a pillbox or a snuff box, even in my heyday. Although actually, now you mention it. But pillbox, snuff box, pillbox, don't know. Suggestions are welcome. Thanks for watching. Follow along to see me actually start the framework now, because we're free to do that. And check out my friends in the description below. Lots of love. See you on the next one.